Hi and welcome back to Garden Ninja for the December garden tour here at Garden Ninja HQ. Now this month I wanted to mix things up, so rather than us all being cold outside with chilly fingers, I decided to take viewers' questions from you, the Garden Ninjas. So today this video is going to be answering all the amazing questions that you sent me over the past couple of weeks. So come on, let's get cracking. If you've not already subscribed to my YouTube channel, make sure you hit the red subscribe button below, where you'll get access to over 120 garden design hints, tips and hacks. And best of all, it's free, so subscribe today. Vicky's Little Garden has asked, what tree or large shrub could I grow in a container in the shade? The position is east facing, paved and falls in the shadow of my garage. It's exactly what I look at when I look out the kitchen, and I'd love something to hide the ugly back wall and back fence. So shrubs for shade are quite a tricky topic. Now there's loads of different options that you can find online for things that are just evergreen blobs, but I've got a better suggestion for you, Vicky. If you're dealing with shade from a garage, it's going to be partial shade. So as the sun moves over, there will be some sun, but for the most time it's going to be in dappled or partial shade. And a perfect shrub for this aspect would be a Sambucus nigra, something like black lace. Now the Sambucus nigra will give you almost an opaque look when it's in leaf, so you're not going to be looking directly at the brick wall, you'll be seeing this beautiful tree-like shrub. Now they can grow quite tall. I've had them where I've got them to about 2.5 to 3 metres, but you can hard prune them every year. They're really vigorous and they make great container shrubs for the garden. So hopefully that helps you, Vicky. Now KK Rose 65 on Instagram has asked, how do you deal with a huge border filled with ground elder? Now KK Rose, I'm really sorry that there's no speedy answer for you, but unfortunately with really tenacious plants like ground elder, which is often considered a weed, the only way to get them out is to dig them out. Now you can use chemicals like glyphosate, however I don't use them in the garden. They're really damaging, they are completely indiscriminate, they will destroy anything in which they touch. So although it's probably not the answer you want, I would get a hori hori or one of those Japanese mini size and I would just dig it all out. Now ground elder spreads through a really complicated rhizome system that will quite happily take over a bed in a matter of what feels like minutes. So you need to get in there and dig out all of those little white rhizomes. If you leave any, it will grow back. You could try smothering it with sort of black plastic for a few months, letting it die back and then digging it up, but there's no real cheat way around getting rid of really tenacious perennial weeds. So that's your answer, and hopefully you'll get out there and just get cracking with it. So Louise off Instagram has asked, what small tree would you recommend as a centrepiece or focal point for a south-facing spot? Ideally lollipop shaped, so my pesky rabbits don't eat it too much. Now I know we said we were going to stay indoors, but I've got an example outside, Louise, so come on, let's brave the weather and I'm going to show you the exact specimen that I would recommend. So Louise, if you're looking for a standard tree that's going to be pretty much rabbit proof and give you some interest all year round, look no further than this. Now these are Elaeagnus oleaster, otherwise known as Silverberry, and these make a perfect standard in the garden. And if I walk forward, you'll see that I even have these in pots around the house and I use them as focal points. This will be perfect in the centre of a garden. It will cope with full sun but also dappled shade, and they're mega tough. I've got a bit of a coastal garden, we have lots of sort of sea breeze that blasts all these plants, but these are absolutely fine. And you clip them twice a year to keep them in shape. And I'd recommend you clip them with a sharp pair of secateurs. So hopefully that helps. So the next question is from Tweedly on Twitter. And they've asked, did you do a course in garden design and do you think it's necessary to be a garden designer? Now, yes, I've done a number of courses to become a garden designer. I also studied horticulture up in Edinburgh Botanical Gardens. Do I think it's necessary? I think for the most part, yes, it is necessary. Because a course in garden design will teach you all of the basic principles that you need to stop yourself from making schoolboy or schoolgirl errors when you start out. However, there is kind of a part of me that feels that being a garden designer is a bit like being a painter. I think if you've got that creative juice within you and it's kind of something that's already there innate, then that will certainly help you become a garden designer. But it's both a mix of having the practical tools, skills and tips that you need to be able to formulate decent design, but then bringing in that artistic creativity to help you bring it to life and give it a real vision. What I would say is start slow, maybe do a weekend course, see how that tickles your fancy, and just research as much as you can about different design skills, proportions, layouts, plants, and you're trying to bring it all together. So it's certainly not something that you learn overnight, but yes, Tweedly, definitely give it a go if you think that garden design is for you. So the next question is from Alex on Instagram, who asks, after gardening, what's your next big passion? Now, my major passion is being outdoors, which is probably why I love gardening so much. But outside of gardening, I really love to snowboard and ski. And I pretty much spend most of my year dreaming about snowboarding and working really hard to make sure that in the winter months I can go away and snowboard and ski. Now, I'll ski and snowboard anywhere, I don't care which country it is, I'm not a ski snob. I'll happily ski in the high altitude French glitterati slopes. I will also ski in Scotland, Bulgaria, Canada, wherever I can get to. So most of my time in the winter is spent either skiing or snowboarding and just enjoying all that fresh mountain air. Now, Samantha on Facebook has asked a really interesting question about how early or soon she can start to sow seeds to get ahead for next year. Now, Samantha, if you've not already watched my Gardening Without Plastic series, I would advise you do that because there are loads of hints and tips for me showing you in real time how to grow your own seeds. And if anyone else is looking to grow seeds, it's a great place to start. However, to answer your question, the answer is you can start to grow seeds pretty much at any time dependent on having the correct temperature. So you can start off your seeds indoors in January and they will hopefully germinate maybe a month or two sooner than if you'd done it in a greenhouse outside. However, there is a drawback. If you start them off too soon, at some point you're going to have to take them outside and harden them off. And if you've grown them really early doors and then you're trying to take them out in March or April and you then get a frost, you may find that all that work's been undone. In my experience, I don't start seedlings off any sooner than the end of February in a heated greenhouse or indoors, because I find that the benefit that you get from growing them sooner means that you have to then wait to harden them off and you're still running the risk of any cold snaps. So I would start mid to the end of February indoors or under heated glass and just take January off, relax, plan what seeds you want to sow and just take a minute. Now, Mark Stainsbury on Facebook has asked a really topical question, and he's said, is there any way that he can keep his Christmas tree growing in the garden after Christmas, because it seems such a waste to get rid of it after all the pleasure that it's brought in the Christmas period? Now, the quick answer is, Mark, if you've bought a Christmas tree that's in a container that has a root ball, then yes, of course, it will live after Christmas. You can either keep it outside in a container or plant it out into your garden or gift it to a friend to plant in their garden. That's fine. If you've bought a real tree that's been cut, then I'm afraid there's nothing you can do. It's pretty much on a one-way route to dying back. And that's the real problem with buying living Christmas trees that are then cut, is that really they're only there for a few weeks before they need to be recycled. And it's a contentious issue because some people say that it's better to buy a real tree and then recycle it and use it as firewood, chop it up for mulch, versus buying a synthetic tree, which usually is made of plastic, which has all sorts of byproduct issues and recycling problems. And it really just depends on how long you're going to keep your synthetic tree versus buying a new one every year. But hopefully, Mark, your tree is in a container with a root ball and you can pot it out. And the final question is from Nick on Twitter, who's asked, where does the name Garden Ninja come from? Well, Nick, many moons ago when I started out in garden design and writing my blog, the real aim was to help inspire new people to start gardening. And I'd heard from so many people, friends and family, that gardening had put them off. They thought they didn't have the time, the money, or they didn't know where to get the knowledge from. So my driving force really was to try and share my passion of gardening to help them realise those benefits. And one of my very first clients had made a throwaway comment to me that once I'd finished her garden, it was like a garden ninja had come in and sorted it all out with no fuss. And the name just stuck. So I wanted to create an army of garden ninjas, which is you out there, led by me to help share my knowledge and experience so that you can create awesome gardens. And the name just stuck, and I think it's really fitting that together as a community we can all become garden ninjas in getting the benefits of gardening and spreading the word to others, because a greener world is a better world. So hopefully that answers your question, Nick. So that brings us neatly to the end of the December garden tour, and for once we managed to stay inside with all these festive decorations and we didn't need to get cold or wet. But can I take this time just to thank you for all the questions you submitted on my social media and into my inbox, and hopefully I've managed to answer most of them in this video. Can I also thank you for the support that you've given me over the last year. The Garden Ninja community is growing exponentially, and month on month we're getting thousands of more people involved in the Garden Ninja garden design revolution, and it's brilliant to see because we're helping more people get benefits from the garden, especially during these strange COVID times where people are looking at their outside spaces and wondering what can they do. So I have one small favour to ask you, and that's if you're sat around your Christmas table and someone is moaning about the garden or doesn't know what to do, make sure you point them in the direction of the Garden Ninja, and we can help grow the community and get more people smiling in the gardens rather than looking at them, tearing their hair out, not knowing what to do. Thanks for all your support this year. If you've liked this channel, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, tell your friends, shout from the rooftops, get Garden Ninja stickers and slap them all over your walls, whatever you want to do. Thanks so much for supporting me. I've been Garden Ninja. I'm off for a mince pie. Happy gardening.